I got an email from somebody who said that they had a mimic in their house that was mimicking their dead grandmother. This is one of the scariest mimic stories I've ever heard. We're gonna call this person Bailey. So Bailey lives in Romania, and she lives at the edge of a pretty big city. She's lived there all her life. Now, a little while ago, her grandmother was sick. Her grandmother was passing away, unfortunately. So her grandmother had to go to the hospital. She's in the hospital, and the doctors are finally like, listen, go home, rest until the rest of your time here. So she was basically going home to pass away in a peaceful manner. So Bailey lived 8 hours away from the hospital, but her grandmother wanted to spend the rest of her time with her family, with Bailey's family. And so Bailey's dad went to go get her and drove her back the 8 hours back to their house. So they get back to the house, and when she gets to the house, she specifically asked to sleep in Bailey's room. Now, it's important to note that Bailey's room is the only room with a cross and a Bible in it. Bailey is obviously okay with this, right? Her grandmother is sick. She wants her to be comfortable. So Bailey goes to sleep on the couch downstairs. So she goes downstairs. She falls asleep on the couch, and she falls asleep fairly quickly, and she's sleeping like a baby when suddenly she just wakes up out of nowhere, and she has this very weird feeling like something is watching her. Now, just so you can kind of get a picture of this, they have windows on 3 walls that are connected. The couch that she was sleeping on was next to the 4th wall that did not have a window. So wherever she looked, she was looking out the window. On the right wall is a side table with a clock and a TV. And when she looks directly in front of her, there are 2 walls with windows. Now, she's sleeping on her right side. So the first thing that she sees when she opens her eyes is she sees the clock, and she sees that it's 2 a.m. But then she sees something kind of at the corner of her eye, and she kind of veers her eyes over to the left, and she sees something that does not belong in the room. What she sees horrifies her. It is this extremely tall figure, completely black figure. It is so tall that it has to kneel down to look at her, which is what it is doing. It is kneeling down like this, looking at her. If it wasn't kneeling down, it would have gone through the ceiling. That's how tall it was. As it's kneeling down, it's just looking at her like this, and it's just waving at her like this. So then it starts doing this. It starts pointing to one area of the wall. And then you know how someone lifts their hands up like this with both of their hands, and they go like, I don't know. So it would point to one area of the wall, and then it would lift its hands up like that and go, I don't know. And then it would turn its head, and then it would look over and point to another area of the wall, and then it would go. So it was messing with her. Kind of like, what's there? I don't know. What's there? I don't know. She said at this point, she is in shock, but this terrified her. So immediately, as soon as she could move from the shock that she was in, she just lifted up the blanket and put it over her head. She's under the blanket for a little bit when she finally peeks over the blanket, and this thing is just gone. The next day, she wakes up and she's terrified, and she tells her grandmother about her experience, and her grandmother tells her that this was an angel. Her grandmother, later on that day, passes away. This was not an angel. So fast forward to a few years later, and the pandemic hits. And in Romania, she said that they have this tradition where after, like a few years after someone passes away, they go to their grave. It sounds like they kind of celebrate the person, and they offer everyone like a burial cake. When she goes to this thing, the whole thing is kind of reminding her of what happened that night. And that night absolutely terrified her, and she wanted to forget about it. She didn't want to think about it. So they go through this celebration, or this ceremony that they do, and she goes home. So she gets home, and she goes upstairs, and she goes to her room, and her family leaves. They go somewhere. So she's home alone in her house now. She's just hanging out in her room when suddenly she hears something that literally made her want to vomit. From downstairs, she hears, "Come eat. I made soup," in her grandmother's voice. She is sitting in her room like, there's no way I just heard that. So she has balls, because she gets up and she goes and opens her door, and she kind of walks out into the hallway a little bit, and then she hears her again say the same thing about the damn soup. She said she's like yelling. She's not asking. She's like demanding that she come eat this soup. So at this point, she is like, F this. So she goes back in her room, and she shuts the door, and she waits for her family to get home, and she tries to forget about this, because she did not know what to do about this. I mean, she was already traumatized about what had happened the prior years, and now this. So she thinks she's going insane at this point. She said in the email that she really thought she was losing her mind. A couple weeks pass, and she's trying to forget about this incident again, and she is in her room just hanging out when suddenly she hears bang, bang, bang on her door. Then she hears, Bailey, open the door, in her grandmother's voice. And bang, bang, bang! And then the same thing again. Her, whatever this thing is, demanding she opens the door. So she doesn't know what to do at this point, because she genuinely believes that she's hallucinating and that she's not really hearing these things. And so the banging eventually does stop, and she's just sitting in her room in complete shock. But she didn't really say what happened exactly after this. She kind of jumped forward to that summer when she was talking to a friend. Now, she hadn't really told anybody about this, because again, she did think that she was going crazy. So she tells her friend about it, and she's like, I think I'm losing my mind. This is what's happening to me. I am terrified. I don't understand what's going on. And her friend is like, you're not losing your mind. Her friend then proceeds to tell her that a couple years prior, on New Year's Eve, when her friend was over at her house, her friend was sleeping on her couch, and that her friend woke up and saw a tall, dark figure that was so tall it was crouching, and that it was doing that same thing that it was doing with her. But Bailey says that from time to time she still hears footsteps in her house, and she hears her grandmother whistling. She said that she would like to think, and that she hopes that this is true, that this thing can't get in or do anything to her unless she lets it in or lets it do anything to her, and that it specifically cannot get into her room because her room is the only one with a Bible and a cross. So what did you guys think about that story? I've heard a lot of mimic stories, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've told any, and I don't think I've heard any that have to do with a mimic mimicking someone who has already passed on. That is so scary to me. I can't picture like hearing in my grandmother's voice, because both of my grandmothers have passed on, that anything. Just hearing that, especially "come eat, I made you soup." You, like, that's taunting. It's like the thing that was kneeling down next to her was taunting her. Whatever this is taunting her. I don't think that was an angel. Do you guys think that was an angel? I do not think that was an angel. Do you guys think this was the same thing? Do you think the tall thing was the same thing mimicking? Because who knows? I mean, mimics are supposed to look like the person, right? Just not have their face. At least that's what I have learned from doing this and doing a little research. I could be wrong. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact that it was mimicking someone who had already passed on, a loved one that had already passed on, is so creepy to me. And I need to be careful about saying that like these stories don't scare me and that I'm desensitized to them, because the last time that I said that on a video, I had the worst sleep paralysis experience that I've had in a long time. And it was, you know, after you have an experience like a bad dream or a sleep paralysis and you wake up and like you can still feel it in the air, like it just feels bad and weird and you feel like you're still in it but you're awake. Has anyone else felt that? That's how it felt, and I hate that feeling. I'm running out of time, so any thoughts, opinions, suggestions that you have, please drop them below. I'm sure I'll think of something that I wanted to say after I end the video. I always do that, but please be respectful as always. And with that being said, I'm not going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Kane Graphics, you left such a nice comment. You said that you like the sound effects that I make, and that I was one of your favorite spooky storytellers, and that is one of my favorite things to hear. Thank you so much for saying that. That was so nice. Thank you for commenting and pushing my video out, and thank you for being a part of my community. You have no idea what it means to me to have you here. I'm so glad that you are here, and I just really appreciated that. It made my night. It really did. So thank you so much. I love you. JerseyGirl_2526. I have literally had to replay this 3 times. Thank you so much for the comment that you left. You said that you love the way I tell scary stories, and I love that. Thank you so much for saying that also. I really appreciate that. Thank you for commenting and pushing my videos out. I'm sorry that I haven't responded to your guys' comments for the past 2 days. You know that I will get to them, or for the past 2 videos. I always do. I know it is so important to me that you guys feel as appreciated as you make me feel. So you made me feel very appreciated when you left that comment. Thank you for being a part of my community. I hope you know how much I truly do appreciate you as an individual. I love you, girl. Individual. Love to get through one video without stumbling over my words. But anyways, my name is Kajsa, and I tell your paranormal experiences on here every single night, or ones that you recommend to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories, have a safe night, and what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much, my spooky babies. I'll see you in the next one. Spooky kiss.